Hi developers, I'm Hossein Bellai, Microsoft MVP. In this video, we'll learn how to use local databases SQLite with Xamarin Forms applications. We'll also use the ORM Entity Framework Core 2.0 in order to execute the CRUD operations against our tables. So we'll be able to do create, update, retrieve, and delete. The application that we want to build in this demo looks like this one here. I have the application running on Android and on iOS. I can retrieve the list of all my saved products. Those products are saved to my database through clicking on the refresh button. And here, if I want to add a new product, then I fill the title and the price for the product. Then I click add button, and that product will immediately be added to my SQL database. Click and refresh again, we'll get the new list of my products saved in the database. From Visual Studio, I'll start by creating a new Xamarin Forms application by going to cross-platform, then select cross-platform app. Let's call our application SQLite app. Here we want this app to use portable class library instead of shared projects. Once our solution is created, we will go and add the new Dotnet standard 2.0 to our solution. So go to add new, then right here we select Dotnet standard. We'll call our application SQLite app. Here we are adding a standard library because Entity Framework Core 2.0 works only on .NET Standard. It doesn't work on PCL projects. For that, we'll create the logic that is using SQLite inside the .NET Standard project, and then we'll pass those instances or those objects into the PCL project in order to be able to use them from our view models. So here into the .NET Standard project, right here, if we go to properties, we can see that by default Visual Studio will create the latest .NET Standard 2.0. So then we'll start here by adding the logic that will use Entity Framework Core 2.0. For that, we need here to go to install Entity Framework 2.0. So for that, I go to the solution and click Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. Here we need to install it on our applications, Android, iOS, and .NET Standard project. So let's look for Entity Framework Core.SQLite. From here we select this and we select our projects, but here we can skip the PCL project and make sure you select Android, iOS, and your .NET Standard. Install. Once the plugin is installed, now we can go to our .NET Standard project, and right here we create our DB context. So here I'll go and use some code snippets. Right here, go to my code snippets, then I use database context, and here the database context is the object that will access my database. For that, here it takes the database path in order to use that with SQLite to be able to recognize the file or the .db file. We'll go and pass this parameter later in this video. So here we need to ensure that our database is created. For that, here we use database.ensureCreated method. We can also use ensureDeleted if you want to delete your database whenever you are doing a migration, for example. Here, my database will have a table of products, and a product is a table of type of product. So here we'll go and use or create an entity called product. We'll go and create this entity from our PCL project. So we go to PCL, then click Add a new class, and we call it product. From here also I'll go and use my code snippets in order to generate the product class. A product class have an ID to be the identifier for my objects inside SQLite, then have a title, price, and here I'm overriding the toString method in order to display the ID, the title, and the price in the same row in list views later. So now that we have created the product class will go now and create the interface repository, which will be used from my view models in order to access the database. For that, I'll go and add a new interface. Let's call it iRepository. Let's call it iProducts repository. The repository or the interface repository defines all the CRUD methods or the CRUD operations for managing our list of products. That includes the create, read, update, and delete operations. For that, I'll add here a code snippet to generate my iProducts repository. And here you can see we do have the methods for get products to get all the list of products, get product by ID to get only one product by his ID, then add product async to add a new product to my database, update a product, it will update a product based on his ID, then remove a product. Then also if you want to create a query, we can do that here by passing a predicate that will take a product and return a boolean. So this interface now we'll implement it from our .NET Standard project. For that, we'll go to .NET Standard project right here and then add a new class. Here it's gonna be the implementation for repository, for our products repository. Again, I'll use code snippets in order to generate this class. So products repository, and here my products repository, it implements the iProducts repository interface. And here, because this interface is in a different project along with the product class, then we'll need to add a reference from the .NET Standard to the PCL project. For that, right here, I'll go right click and add a reference. From here we go and select the SQLite app. Hit OK, and then you can see that here in the dependencies a new reference was added to my SQLite app. Let's go and solve the other dependencies where is using system.link. So my products repository class will take an instance or will create an instance of the database context, and database context is the one that gives me access to my database. From there, I can implement the get products async method in order to get the list of all products. Then get products by ID to get only one product using the find async method, which will take the ID of the product. Add product async will take a product as a parameter and try to add it to our SQLite database by using the add async method. And then it will check if the product was added successfully or not by checking the entity state of the tracked object. Here you see that we are calling saved changes, and this is as the commit command from SQLite, from SQL queries. For updating a product, we get the product we want to update. We'll trigger the update method on that product, then we'll save the changes and verify if the product was modified successfully inside the database by checking its state. Removing a product could be done through its ID, so we take the ID of that product, then we get the product, and then we invoke the method remove in order to remove this product. Then we save the changes and return the result. If you want to execute a customized query, we take a predicate, then we execute the where method on that predicate and return the result to the caller. Now, in order to use this implementation of products repository from our PCL project, we need to pass it through the app.cs. For that, here I go to the Android project, go to main page, and from main page I go and create a new instance of the repository. For that, I'll go and use my code snippets and use db path for Android. Here, what I am doing is that I get the DB path for my Android, for the database on my Android. Here, as I'm using SQLite, uses the .db in order to create this database. Then we'll use that path to pass it to our repository, because here, remember, our repository will take that path in order to retrieve or to create a new instance of the database context. So that now we have a repository object. We'll go and pass it to our app by passing it as a parameter, the app constructor. But the app constructor right here doesn't support, it is a parameterless constructor. So we'll go and add a parameter of type iProducts repository. We'll call it products repository. Then here we'll go later to save this repository to this app.cs. As we have done this with Android, we'll do the same with the iOS project. For that, I'll go to app delegate from my iOS project, and from within the app delegate, I'll go to the code just before loading the app, then use Ctrl+KX in order to trigger my code snippets. Then go to my code snippets, and here I use the DB path for iOS. Here, not in iOS, I'm calling SQLite PCL batteries.init, which I don't call it on Android. I just need this on iOS. Then I'm calling the path, or to get the path for my SQLite database on iOS. Then I'm creating a new instance of products repository. Then we'll go and pass this products repository to our app constructor. Note that here it doesn't recognize products repository because we are not referencing the PCL project which have the object products repository. So we need to add a reference from our iOS project to the .NET or to the .NET standard project right here. So we select that, then we click OK. And the same also should be done with the Android project. So we'll go to its references, add reference, then select .NET Standard. So that from here we can add the namespace for the products repository from the iOS and also from the Android project. Now that we passed an instance of iProducts repository to our app.cs, now we'll go and pass this instance to our view model. For that, here, let's go and create a new view model for our application. Let's select add new item, and let's say here I want to create a products view model. I go and generate products view model based on my code snippets. So here I'll go and say I want the implementation for products view model. Let's solve the usings for this project. The products view model will take an instance of the products repository, then it will save it locally, then it will use that repository in order to refresh the list of the products here by invoking the method getProductsAsync, which will return the list of all products. Then I save those products into a property called products right here, which is a list of products. So the refresh command will be executed when I click the refresh products button right here. Then we do have the add command, which will be executed when I click the add product page button in order to create a new product. For that, I try to create a new product by getting the product title and product price. Then I go and invoke the add product async method on the repository by passing the product in order to create a new product in my SQLite database. Now let's go and create a view to use this view model inside our PCL project. For that, I'll go to PCL, add new item, then right here I choose content page. Let's call this products page. Right here, I'll go and paste the code for my view, which is here. Will contain an entry. So we take a look at the code of this interface. I'm creating an entry. The first one here for getting the product title, then to get the product price inside a new another entry. The first button for adding products, then a second button for refreshing products or getting the list of products from the database. Then I'm displaying the list of the products inside this list view. Note that inside this list view, I can, with this simple syntax, display both the ID, title, and price of the product in one row without using item template or data templates, because in the products here I overrided the toString method, which will be called in each time the list view tries to display a product. So here we'll get the same syntax shown right here. Note also that we didn't create binding context from the XAML code, neither from the CS code, because we'll try to do that with a new manner here. From within the app.cs, we'll go and create a new instance of the products page. Instead of using the main page, we'll go and say main page equal new products page. And from the products page, now we'll go and invoke, or we'll try to set the binding context in order to take a new products view model. And to the products view model, now we'll pass the instance we get from our iOS and Android project, which is here the product repository. So this way I have done the binding context from the app right here in order to get the products view model. Of course, if you are using dependency injection along with IOC containers like Unity or AutoMapper, then maybe you want to register this instance into an IOC container, then you can retrieve it later or solve it later from your view model. So this was all the required code in order to create a Xamarin Forms application that uses SQLite from PCL project. You can get the source code for this application from my GitHub repo. So here, if you go to this project, you can see that here you can get all the source code for the today's application, along with the code snippets folder, where here you will find all the snippets I used in this demo. So thank you for watching.